Yeah.
Okay, Paul, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Yesterday we discussed your childhood and all the things you'd done
Yeah.
and how you finally married your college sweetheart, even
Yeah.
though she wasn't even a friend in high school,
Yeah.
and stayed with her for 66
Yeah.
years.
That's right.
And then you moved into a hotel, am I right?
Right. Yeah.
And that hotel, just out of curiosity, what happened with that later?
Later, my father sold it, and he had given each one of the family a share now.
Yeah, but before he sold, who handled the negotiations to sell
Huh?
it? Who handled the negotiations to sell it?
I handled a lot of them.
Well, I want to hear about the negotiations. Who bought it and how it sold?
We sold it to Sheridan.
To Sheridan. What was that man's name?
Sheridan Hotel.
But that was another man's name. What was his name? Do you remember it?
It'll take me a while to remember it.
But he was the owner of Sheridan, and it was like the first or second hotel he ever bought, right?
He was just starting a Sheridan Hotel chain.
And then when you negotiated with him and he saw the numbers, what did he want to tour the unit?
No, he said he didn't have time. He said he'd seen the financial figures. That's all he cared about.
So he didn't bother to look at the hotel at all, and he just spent how much was it? $500,000 or $1 million he
Something
paid?
like that.
And he spent that back in the what 60s, early 60s.
Yeah.
So you negotiated that. Now,
Yeah.
from the time you left college and started working for the ice cream business,
Yeah.
your dad retired, right?
Yes, he did.
Why did he retire?
Huh?
Why did he retire?
He was old.
Do you know how old he was, Paul?
Huh?
How old do you think he might have been?
How old?
Uh-huh.
I would guess maybe 70,
No, he was 57.
57.
How old are you?
I'll have to think a minute.
You don't know how old you are?
I'm 100.
Right. Your dad retired at 57.
Yeah.
That was not what you call old, but by your standards as a young college student, it was old, right?
Yeah.
So your dad kind of turned over most of the decision making of the company to you, correct? At
Yes, he
22.
did.
And from then on, your dad liked to fish.
Yeah.
What did he
He
do?
had a fishing boat he bought.
In Florida, yeah.
Yeah, he went out in the Gulf Stream and fished. He loved that.
I see. And one time you had you had a great experience in that boat. Remember that experience you had?
Well, I caught a big fish, and I got a picture of it in the garage.
Was it a sailfish?
Yeah.
A huge sailfish about your size.
Huh?
You said you were about to get seasick that day. When he caught this sailfish, all of a sudden all the energy came out and you pulled the fish in and you got over
Yeah.
being seasick. So that ended your fishing. But when you ran the hotel, you and Doris, and you ran the business, and you ran the restaurant and the department store, you oversaw that.
Yeah.
How much free time did you have?
Yeah, just the evenings.
You had your evenings free?
Huh?
You had your evenings free?
Evenings, yeah.
You had some experiences with theft in your hotel. What was that all about?
That's what's that?
The experience with theft.
Oh, we had to have a fellow at the gate. He'd carry off the electric light bulbs and all the different things that were loose around there.
Uh-huh.
So we kept a man at the door to check and make sure that what was going out we wanted to keep.
Yeah, but you had somebody come in and study the company first, and they told you everybody was stealing. Wasn't that what it
Yeah,
was?
that's
I
right.
guess theft is just kind of a part of life you have to learn to live with. That's not very
Uh-huh.
important. But what else did you learn in those early years of running a company at 22? What were some of your big lessons in the years?
Lessons?
Yeah, what'd you learn?
Well, there were a lot of crooks all over.
Yeah, and what else?
Yeah, if I think of anything else, I'll tell you.
What did you learn about managing people? What was important?
Well, we had a lot of crooks working for the company, too.
Well, that doesn't sound very optimistic. Did you have any good people around?
Yeah, we had some good people,
Well, tell
too.
me about your good people then.
Well, we had a couple people that had been with the company almost since it started.
Which would have been 20. Who were they?
Well, there was Bill Cran. He lived behind the plant, on the street behind the plant.
And
He was one.
what was good about him?
He was very conscientious.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Anybody else?
Well, we had a younger fellow by the name of what was his name now?
It doesn't matter. What'd you like about him?
Well, he worked for us for quite a while, and one day he came into my office. He had this union circular. He said, "Can you imagine those guys passing that out at our gate? It's terrible." I didn't say.
But he was loyal to you.
Ah.
It took the union a long time to get into your plant, didn't it?
Yeah.
How did you keep them out for so long if you didn't like your people? Did you like your people? Did you like the people that worked for you?
A lot of them I liked, not all of them.
Really?
Huh?
Well, what's the hardest thing about managing a factory like that?
Mhm.
What was hard?
About managing it?
Yeah.
Well, ice cream in those days was sort of a seasonal business, and so people mostly ate ice cream in the summer, and we'd have to put on a force for the summer rush. But then in the fall, when it turned cold, we had to fire most of the new hires.
And that was difficult for you,
Yeah,
right?
it was.
Because they didn't get any benefits. Now, they mostly took the bus to work.
Yeah.
You didn't even have a parking lot for years,
Well,
right?
mostly the streetcar.
Oh, I call the streetcar the bus. They took the
Yeah.
streetcar to work, and
Yeah.
then most of them didn't have a telephone back then, did they?
That's right. If there was some people that we thought might be needed in an emergency, we bought a telephone for them and the company paid for it.
But that would be just a few, right? How many employees did you usually have?
A couple hundred.
A couple hundred. Was that what it was at the end when you sold it?
I say,
Is that what you had in the end when you sold the business?
about, yeah.
Okay. And then after you sold the business, well, while you were running the business, you were asked to be on the Bank of America bank board, right?
Yeah,
How did that
right,
happen?
Right.
How'd that happen? It wasn't Bank of America. What was it?
It was called the Liberty Bank in those days.
Uh-huh. And what happened when they asked you to be on the bank board?
I grabbed it.
Why? Why'd you grab it?
Well, there was quite a prestige thing, you know. The banks always published a list of their directors in the paper every month.
And you wanted to get your name in the paper, is that right?
Yeah,
Why?
because it was a prestigious thing.
Oh, I see. And was your dad happy when you went on the bank board?
I can't recall whether
Okay.
he was still alive or not.
So what else did you like about the bank board other than the prestige?
Well, I met a lot of new people that were very top people,
Mm-hmm.
and it increased my knowledge of top people in the city.
Okay. And then how long was it till you became the head of the trust department?
Not too long.
Anything else?
I can't think of anything right now.
But that was really one of the major. Every time anybody asks about your business, you always talk about your bank board experience
Yeah.
more than the running the ice cream business.
Yeah. According to New York State regulations, the bank had to publish a list of their directors in the paper at least once a month.
So it gave you prestige, and you wanted that as a young man, I suppose.
Yeah, I liked prestige.
Do you still?
Huh?
Do you still like prestige? Is it worth it?
Well, that's a long time ago.
Well, no. Today, at 100, is that prestige important?
Well, I wouldn't be allowed now. I'm too old.
No, but I'm asking you, as a 100-year-old man with a lot of life, is prestige a very important part of your world right now? Would you care about it? Do you care about it?
You're the most important thing now
Why?
because you're great.
I understand. But I'm asking you if you being well known is important to you at this point.
Most of the people that knew me are dead now.
And so I'm asking, is it important you get a whole new group of people knowing you? Does that mean anything?
The people knowing me,
Yeah.
well, there are some younger people that I met through the bank that are still alive. So it increased my acquaintanceship among people that were
Okay.
active and intelligent.
Yeah. Well, you ran these things for several years, and then you decided you needed to sell them.
So what?
The ice cream business. Why did you sell that after you were there about 40 years, right? About 35
I
years.
have to check it.
But why did you decide to sell it after 30 some years?
I think we had a good offer for it.
Oh, really? I thought it was problems with the union.
You thought, well, that was one thing. After we became unionized, having everything cleared with the union was a nuisance.
And what did they do? They would take your key worker and have them not show up and shut the line down. Isn't that what they did?
Yeah,
And that drove you crazy?
I didn't like it.
Didn't you tell me you went home weekends and threw up a lot over the pressures when they got in there? But they weren't there for years, and then they got there. Wasn't the pressure from the union making you sick?
By the time the weekend came, I was often sick.
Mm-hmm.